The night was silent, heavy like a blanket over the ocean, but across those dark waters another world was stirring, a world where money and danger walk hand in hand, and where powerful networks defy borders to build their empires. Tonight, we enter that world into an operation some reports have called the annihilation of a major cartel, a mission that brought together U.S. Special Forces and the Navy, with intelligence and coordination spanning miles across land and sea. It began with surveillance. High above, eyes in the sky spotted a long convoy of heavy vehicles, moving with an odd precision. Containers sealed tight, movements concealed all the signs of a secret shipment. Within minutes, analysts recognized the danger. This wasn't just a caravan of cargo. It was a pipeline of power carrying not only contraband, but enormous amounts of cash. What followed was the planning stage, where silence and patience are the greatest weapons. Special Forces teams began coordinating, mapping out routes, waiting for the perfect moment. The Navy, Coast Guard, and federal agencies like the DA joined in, pooling intelligence into one unified picture. This was more than a raid. It was a strike designed to dismantle a network. Reports claimed the results were staggering. 76 tons of methamphetamine seized alongside $220 million in cash. If accurate, those numbers represent a crushing blow to cartel finances, enough to disrupt operations for months, maybe even years. But it's important to note, while these figures have been widely circulated in media and online, official confirmations vary, and some of the numbers remain difficult to independently verify. Picture the scene: the hum of helicopters cutting through the night air, orders relayed in short, sharp bursts, teams of soldiers moving in silence toward the convoy. Within seconds, the trap was sprung. Trucks were stopped. Containers forced open. Inside, layer upon layer of tightly wrapped packages, powder, crystals, bundles of U.S. currency stacked in plastic, bound in rubber bands heavy as bricks. Officers quickly secured the zone, detained suspects, and locked down evidence. Forensic teams moved in to document everything. This was not chaos, it was controlled precision, the result of months of preparation. Behind every seizure lies the law, and the law demands proof. The drugs must be tested, the chain of custody maintained, the evidence prepared for court. Every kilogram cataloged, every bill photographed and sealed. It's this painstaking process that ensures the cases don't collapse later in court. International partners often assist, tracking supply chains, tracing money, and building cases that cross borders. In a fight this vast, cooperation is not optional, it's essential. Now consider the human impact. Every ton of narcotics stopped means thousands fewer doses on the street. Every dollar seized is one less resource for corruption, for violence, for buying influence. At the same time, reality reminds us that cartels adapt quickly. A tunnel closed means another is dug. A shipment seized means another is already en route. These operations are victories, yes, but they're often temporary. To create lasting change, enforcement must be paired with prevention, social programs, treatment, and economic alternatives. The money side of the story is equally complex. $200 million in cash doesn't just appear. It's tied to laundering networks, shell companies, and underground banking routes. Freezing these assets, tracing their origins, and prosecuting those responsible can take years. In many cases, the court battles over seized money and property last longer than the operations themselves. That's why agencies put as much emphasis on following the money as they do on intercepting the drugs. So what does this mean long term? Did the operation succeed in cutting off the head of the network, or just one of its many arms? Were high-ranking leaders captured, or did they slip away, ready to rebuild? Large seizures make headlines, but their true impact is measured in the months and years that follow in the prosecutions, the intelligence gathered, and whether the cartel truly feels the loss. Here's the challenge public narratives often dramatize. Headlines proclaim cartel destroyed, network annihilated. These words grab attention, but reality is rarely so simple. Cartels are resilient, fragmented, and global. The real story lies in the details, the cooperation between agencies, the legal strategies, and the intelligence quietly collected for future strikes. What this operation ultimately shows us is both the power and the limits of force. On one hand, coordinated action by military and law enforcement can deliver devastating blows. On the other, without tackling the demand, the finances, and the sources of supply, the cycle continues. True success requires more than raids. It requires strategy, policy, and global commitment. And so, as the dust settles, we're left with a picture of both triumph and challenge. A vast seizure, a huge financial disruption, and a temporary blow to a cartel's empire. But also a reminder, the fight is not over. It never really is. What matters is how intelligence, cooperation, and persistence can turn moments of disruption into lasting change. In the end, this is the story of shadows and light, of networks that thrive in darkness and of forces that rise to confront them. And as long as that struggle continues, the ocean will remain more than water and waves. It will remain a battlefield where silence and power collide,